So I've been at home the last few days, and walking is a great way to think about your thoughts, especially with other people. The one thought I've been thinking about for the past 3 or so days is, if humans managed to technologically advance so much that we could cheat death, that we could become immortal, that we couldn't die. However that's done, that would be torture. Everything of value, of beauty, of innocence, of guiltness, of every attribute you can think of will be reduced to a grey interpretation of them all. When I say that, I mean they'll all merge into one. Think about it. If you're thinking of doing something to better yourself, to advance yourself, the main motive behind that is you are not going to be on this planet forever. So there are two roads you can take. You can take action or not. Now, for a fulfilling and purposeful life, of course you would take action. But in this scenario where we live forever, you don't have to take action, because all the time you'll be able to think to yourself, I can do anything, anywhere, anytime, with anyone. On the surface, that may sound utopian. I don't think so. When you look at a sunset picture, when you look at a sunset or a sunrise, what do they represent? Sunrise, the passage of time, the start of something new, turning the page, taking a leaf out of someone else's book, being able to put aside the past and focus on the present, all for the future. Think of the beauty of a sunrise. You won't be able to see that forever. In fact, it's so fleeting that in a few minutes, the sun would have risen such that the sunrise doesn't exist anymore. Sunset. Sunset, once again, represents the passage of time, but also the completion of the day. It's a poignant reminder that regardless of whether you made use of the day, whether you were productive, whether you were present, whether you lived it to the fullest, whether you optimized it, regardless of all that, it's a reminder of the inexorable tumbling towards your death and your memory in a way. When you think about everyone who's lived or existed 500 years ago, there are very few people that are remembered compared to all of the humans that have ever existed. For those who are vying in this world to try and become rich, trying to gain power and influence, There's nothing against it on the surface level. But this mad rush to solidify your legacy is almost futile and a bit naive in the grand scheme of things. I've mentioned Coldplay a few times on this channel. I mentioned them in one video. And one of the songs I've been listening to by them, not like the mainstream popular ones, but the ones that I've suddenly got into, are all related about the passage of time and the lack of control you have of yourself, of your life, and of course the passage of time. I think humans have become fixated on trying to control so much that they in turn experience a less full life. If we're measuring a good life by the experiences experienced, then you don't need money, you don't need power, you don't need influence. Of course, that may feel good in the present moment, but what I've come to the realization to is anything that is happening or that you're doing whilst you're alive is infinitely more important than trying to leave your mark as a memory. A memory can only be studied, it can only be read about. And this obsession with immortalization in reading, writing, film, scripture, it will never compare to the fullness and the beauty of being alive. And if humans were to cheat death, the value of life itself would hold no meaning. The constructs people have instilled in their brain, and I mean everyone. I mean the Buddhist monks, the Wall Street bankers, the City of London investment bankers, the carpenters, the camel riders, the factory workers, the world leaders, the politicians, the economists, the influencers, the people who backbone the earth. All of their experiences will always be more valuable than the highest of experienced lives. One final thing I'll say is, on a little more of a less existential level, is fixing your close relationships is very rewarding. On this channel, you'll be able to see that in mid-December, I was in a lot of contortion. And I never found out if my parents read the journal I left out, or they could just sense something was wrong about me. Nevertheless, we're on the same page now. And that's really rewarding, like I said. Because trying to live a fake life in one way for some type of person or some group of people and then living in another way for another type of person is just tiresome, inauthentic, and honestly, borderline depressing compared to the life you could be living. So I fixed mostly the relationship with my family. Not that it was bad, but just because there was a bad communication. I procrastinated communicating effectively on topics which were emotional. I implore you to do the same, whether it's friends or family. You need